welcome to this Island Stats interview with Erica Hawley. Erica, a Bermuda Triathlete, represented Bermuda at the Commonwealth Games, at the, what was it?
Pan
American Games, yeah.
I got you.
I had a blank spot for a second there. But Erica, we're going to take a look back at 2019, and obviously 2020 has been one that I think many would want to forget for various reasons. But looking at your performances in 2019, obviously you had high hopes for performances in 2020.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of wasn't expecting this, and yeah, I haven't raced at all this season, but I don't know. I think that you can't just discount a year. And I know that even though I haven't raced, I've put in some really good training, and I'm doing everything to stay positive. And there are other ways of testing yourself and making sure that it is still a good year in terms of the longevity of the sport and continuing on in the future. So it didn't break me or anything, which is good. But, I obviously feel for people who are a bit older and maybe finishing, and this could be the catalyst to end their career early and whatnot. But in terms of me, yeah, it's a shame I haven't raced. It honestly kind of sucks, but you just kind of have to take it on a grain of salt. And I feel fortunate to still be able to train and stuff like that, because I know that there's a second wave of lockdown in Europe right now, and Australia and New Zealand haven't been able to leave at all. So yeah, I just kind of have to go along with things in this 2020.
I know you would have been a little disappointed because you would have had high hopes of at least getting in one event in Portugal in 2 weeks' time. But unfortunately, that's been postponed as well or canceled.
Yeah, I know. I've actually tried to race a couple times in March. I went to Sarasota. I flew there, and then when I got there, they said the race was canceled. And, I tried in the last to race in the last race of the season in Portugal. It kind of was the only race that really worked in terms of travel and everything like that, just because I'm still kind of in school and in Colorado. I didn't have as much flexibility to go and race for weeks upon end in Europe. So it's kind of the last hurrah. And then I had some time, if anything was to happen with travel, to go back home and whatnot after the race. But yeah, it got canceled, which is not unsurprising, but it's always hard when you get excited and get your hopes up to do something, and having it cancel is kind of a blow. But I've already kind of lined up things in order to test myself in the next month or so, just to kind of simulate a race scenario. But yeah, it's honestly a bit disheartening for that one, because I had high hopes considering all the races that had been going on in Europe in the past couple months. But yeah.
You did get those competitive juices flowing. I believe last month you took part in an off-road type
yeah.
event.
That was fun.
How was that experience?
That was so much fun. So yeah, I drove to Utah in Cedar City, and I did 100 and I can't even remember now. It was a 200K race off-road. And I had talked about it with my coach and whatnot, because it's not exactly in the training plan, but right. It kind of was something that I would love to do, and something that super excites me outside of triathlon is doing this kind of events with gravel and whatnot. So we kind of agreed to do it, and to be a good kind of mental game more than anything, which is nice, because sometimes it's not just about the physical, and it's pushing yourself mentally. And sorry. Yeah, it was super fun. I borrowed a bike, and I had used that bike twice before the race, and I had a couple friends who were doing it too. So it wasn't like I wasn't alone. And my good friend, who's also a triathlete, she was doing it with her boyfriend. So it kind of like worked out nicely. And it was good to race, you know, like I was so nervous. It was so weird. Like I couldn't eat like the day before in the morning of, I like was so nervous. And I was like, why? This is supposed to be fun. But I think that just being in that environment again was like, it was super exciting. And obviously it was so foreign to me. I was like, you know, if something was to happen, like I'm in the middle of nowhere, like in these like gravel roads in Utah, which already is like questionable. But yeah, it was so much fun. I'm so glad I'd had that opportunity. And like, that's the kind of shame is like, you know, in the US, there wasn't many, like there's triathlon races for me to do. I mean, there's a couple of like non-draft, like Ironman, half Ironman events, but like my specific IT races, like it was very limited. So to be able to do kind of like a bike race was something pretty cool. But it's just a shame that they haven't kind of capitalized on doing like a Continental Cup or something. Because I feel like there's quite a few American triathletes that would go to something. But I think obviously like for a place to host something, it's probably pretty hectic to get all the like regulations and all that sorted out. But yeah, that's fun.
The fact that you haven't raced in a year, what do you think that first start line is going to be like for you? I mean, you said you couldn't eat the day before and you were just doing an off-road, yeah. But something different. But in that first time back on the line to know you're going to run or jump into the water.
Mm-hmm. I think that like, I don't know. I mean, I think it will be super tough and, you know, putting myself in that scenario again will be kind of scary. But I think that just the ability to race again will be like super exhilarating. And like I still am doing like various time trials and I see improvements in like all the disciplines. So like, I know that, you know, I'm still training and I'm not like unprepared, but I think that like initial jump in, like sprinting to the first buoy would be quite different and like, try to think about doing like transition really well or something is probably a bit daunting. But yeah, I mean, before when we had been planning to race, like I was doing that kind of stuff anyway, brick workouts. So yeah, hopefully we'll see soon. But yeah, I have hopes for 2021. I think that it's something that the race season will continue just in a different way, you know?
Yeah. Going back to 2019, you were having such an amazing year. You look at your third place finish in the under 23s in the Monterey American Championships. That also you finished 15th overall. Remarkable performance there. You had you finished 27th in the ITU World Cup back in June, 23rd in the ITU the World Cup in July. So, and then you finished off the season where you finished 7th in the Sprint Triathlon America's Cup. You know, just looking to get that back up to form, having now taken a whole year off, and you were injury-free whole year off because you've had your challenges with injuries during the season where you were forced to kind of take time off, but this is a different force to take time off, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. It seems kind of weird. Like I think that like you kind of feel guilty for like taking like a rest week or something like that because you're not racing, and like tapering is like a weird concept because you're like, I should just be like training all the time. But I think that like having a coach and having someone like direct you is like super important. And I don't know, we obviously have to maintain injury free. It's even though we're not racing, it's still like you can completely overtrain and whatnot. But yeah, I feel pretty fortunate about that. 2019, I think for me actually was a pretty bad season, but I think that, you know,
You're too hard on yourself.
Maybe, but I don't know. I'm super excited because I graduate in December and then I can like go 100% full time. And I think that's like when I'll really be able to see the changes that I want to see in like a shorter amount of time. Right now it's just a bit harder, like when I have a full workload, but yeah, I'm actually super excited for 2021. And I think that for me, like COVID happening, it happened in a year that like it was okay to happen, if that makes sense. Like, I think that where I am in my career, like I knew that realistically in the fall, I would have only been able to race a couple of times anyway. So, I mean, the summer obviously sucked, but I think that everyone's in the same boat. So it's just kind of going along with that. But yeah, well, I'm excited for 2021. Let me just say that.
When you heard the announcement about the event, the sprint in Bermuda that will take place next year, did that kind of excite you even more? Because the opportunity for you to race in Bermuda in front of Bermudians, I mean, you've done it before, but not with the crowd that is expected for this particular event.
Yeah, no, I saw that and I was so excited, and I hadn't actually heard any like background talk about it. So that was completely like new news to me when I saw it like posted from World Triathlon. Yeah, I think that's so exciting. And especially because like we can put together a team, but I think that like having a race in Bermuda to like that, you know, capitalize on, I think that like the four of us, whoever the four of us may be, like we would obviously want to perform extra well because it's hosted in Bermuda. So I think that like, especially for like Tyler Smith and I, like the short stuff is like kind of fun. And yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to hopefully have the opportunity to do that. And yeah, I mean, I've only watched the WTS in Bermuda and
Right.
been a part of the crowd, and it's incredible. And like, I'm excited to be like a competitor this time. But yeah, it seems like a far way off, but it'll come around soon, hopefully.
Oh, it will come fast. It will come fast. Now, of course, I asked the question during the press conference, is Corkscrew in the mix for this event? And of course, that's the trademark. But for someone like you, does Corkscrew interest you or kind of put you off a little bit?
I don't think it puts me off, but I feel like if like I should be home for a couple months just practicing that on and off, have like my mom like be at the top, be like, stop the cars. Erica's got to do this. But no, I think that it's exciting. It's obviously a tough hill, but like we have the upper hand. We're from baby. And at least we know it like it inside out. So like we can really like cater training towards like a hill like that, like especially in Boulder where there's so many climbs and steep stuff. So like I think that, you know, having the knowledge of basically Bermuda like at the back of my hand, like it's pretty nice. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, not too many races are done in like the Hamilton Harbor for triathlon. Usually you're down at Southside, but Hamilton Harbor actually offers a different type of start, deep water.
It's completely different, which is weird. Like you think in Bermuda it would just be the same, but like those are like two completely polar opposites, like type of racing. Like up at Clearwater, right? It's pretty flat. Like you're right. Like there's the beach there, and then Hamilton is like beach or pontoon start. And like I remember, I think it was 2018. The pontoon was like freaking high to like jump. I was like, oh damn. And yeah, I think it's a fun course to say the least.
Yeah. How are you managing, because you mentioned that, you know, you're graduating, hopefully graduating. I wish you all the best in graduating in December.
Yeah.
But how are you managing just that training? It's a good thing that competition hasn't been there, but training and school. And last week you had a major exam.
Yeah, I actually crushed that exam, so we're doing good. Honestly, I kind of like the like remote learning just because it gives me a lot of flexibility so I can train and kind of pick the times that work best for like training, so I don't have to like commute into campus or anything like that. Like I can just like some classes I have to zoom in, but my other two classes are like completely at your own pace, and you obviously have to like do exams and stuff, and you can meet the teacher if you want, but it's pretty flexible. And I really like that because I can train when I want to train and then do the school around that, just for like time of day and whatnot. Like here, like it was snowing all yesterday, and this morning I like went and like did a workout, but like, sometimes you would want to work out in the middle of the day because it is so cold, and vice versa. But yeah, I actually think this semester is going really well, and just having that kind of flexibility to just not go into campus and like, I don't know, there's like definitely like time wasted, like commuting and, like waiting around and stuff. But like here, I like work from home always. So everything's kind of like can be a lot better with time management, I think. But yeah, I think as well, my coach is based here. So I see her 3 or 4 times a week. And the gym where I go to is like a mile away. So when it's nice out, I just bike over or I drive over, and everything's like relatively close from where I live. So like it actually works out pretty nicely. And I think that the way that kind of my brain is and how I like work is I've always done school and training. Like that's just something that I've done for the past 4 years, and even in high school when I was swimming a lot. So I think that like being busy is like part of my like everyday like regime. Like sometimes when I have an off day, I get like super jittery and I like have to go for like a walk and like or a little spin or something. Like even if it's 10 minutes, I think that just like I need to just be like on a lot. So yeah, I'm managing.
When you look at how the elite field has been participating in these last few World Cup events, are you looking at the strategies used? Are you looking at the times? Are you also looking at the courses? Because obviously these things happen year round, and they'll use these courses again. Mm-hmm. But the times that these ladies are doing, are you looking at that closely and trying to determine how you can either emulate or beat those times?
I think that that is a super useful tactic. I mean, honestly, right now I like haven't, because I think that for me, just watching a race where I am like not being able to race and not mm-hmm. having the ability to race for probably till 2021, like I don't want to put myself like in that position of feeling kind of upset and like left out. So like I will do that like before racing in the future. Like I would go back and watch it again. And like, especially if I am doing that course and they've already like done that course, then I will definitely look through it. And I think that's a super useful tactic to like know where the hill is and kind of where people like take shoes off and stuff like that, like on the bike. But honestly, right now, I haven't really been doing that because I just don't want to, put myself through like being upset and whatnot and being kind of envious about not being able to race. But yeah.
But you say after you graduate in December and come 2021, you want to, put your heart and soul and all into it. How long do you think you give yourself to kind of get up to speed? Because after balancing school and training and competition, you'll just be focusing on that. So how much time do you think you're going to need to get to where you want to be, in the mix on a regular basis?
I think that like, it's not going to take a couple months. And if you look at the top people, like they're still improving every day. And even just looking at Flora, like she really started to like be the 100% best and like winning WTSs like when she was 28 or something. So I mean, I know it's not going to happen overnight or anything like that, but I mean, just looking in my own like past, taking the semester off in 2018 before Commonwealth, I look at my numbers and like how much I improved in just that like short 6 months, and how much that was. So I think that like I expect to see like a pretty big like increase in like performance and whatnot. And then obviously like when you get to a pretty good level, like it's all the like minimal stuff and like everything else that kind of contributes. But I think that like no one is ever completely satisfied. Like, they're never going to make it to like the 100% top and then be like complacent. I think it's like always a continuous like battle to like be better. So yeah, I think that just like trusting in my training and like my coach and following that plan and being super like good about like trusting it, I think that'll like help in achieving what I want to achieve in the next 4 years or whenever.
All right. I have a question. What does Bermuda need to do to grow your sport locally?
So I have like quite a few opinions about this, but I think that incorporating it in triathlon in like the schools is like a super big thing. I know the Tri-Heads is great and it's on Saturdays, but I think that, you know, just looking from me, like I kind of stopped triathlon, I think, when I was like in high school and stuff, and I just swam and I did a bit of running and didn't really bike. And I think that like in order to like grow in Bermuda, it really needs to work on like that junior age group, because we have like young, but like as you get older, I know there's a lot of distractions, and I mean, we all go through it, like you're a teenager and whatnot. So I think that like having kind of a good community, and I think honestly like a school program and like making triathlon available to like more people, it would be like a huge game changer. Yeah.
Do you think sometimes the younger kids get lost when you have the triathlon events? Because what they do is at the beginning they have the youngsters compete and then onto the adults. But do you think sometimes the youth get lost in that?
I think sometimes it can be like, whoa, look at this amazing person. How am I ever going to like get to that stage? I feel like that's like a constant kind of like, it's admiring, but it just seems quite like foreign. But on the other hand, I think that like, I mean, just taking like Tyler and I, for example, like we are both in a pretty like similar stage and have like I think people in the triathlon community have like seen our slow projection, and I think that is like a bit more relatable to like the younger generation, and hopefully like they can look and like kind of be more relatable to what we're doing. And you know, I think that since Flora is like a bit older, like the kids now, they just think, wow, like she is like incredible, and I'm never gonna get to that, which I even still think that, right? But I think that, yeah, like Tyler and I think play a pretty big role in like inspiring and kind of helping out the future generation, and that's a pretty like cool thing to think about, that like I can make a difference on people who are younger and hopefully like help them like feel the love for the sport that I do as well. So
do you think knowing the challenges that Flora faced as a youngster to get to where she was a world champion at the age of 28 can help you to kind of stay in the sport even when the chips are down?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, even my coach right now, she podiumed at a couple World Cups, but she went like through the ringer as an athlete. And I know that she had a pretty toxic like coach athlete relationship. And like, she, you know, had a lot of kind of mental health problems. And like, I know that her like experience has, as an athlete, makes her like so much more valuable as a coach. And I know like that she would never want anything like bad to happen to her athletes, and she would never jeopardize like their emotional well-being for like a gold, not like gold medal, but like for a success. I think that like being happy is like a huge thing. And I think that if you talk to any athlete, like, you know, at the end of the day, like you have to really enjoy what you're doing. And like mental health is such a big part of it, because triathlon is not like a 9-to-5 job, it's for a day job. So I think that like having that happiness outside is like so important. Like all of my friends are so supportive, are like help me out all the time, and are willing to like try races and whatnot. So I think that like, you know, people around you that like can support you and like understand is super important. And like talking to the and like knowing that they are like real people too, I think that is super important. Because as well, like I talk about it all the time, is like on social media, it's kind of this like all like sunshine and rainbows. And like, yeah, some people like talk about their hard days, but I feel like training is really not this like great thing all the time. Like I think a lot of workouts are tough and you have to adjust a lot of the time. And it's not as like kind of easy as it may seem on like the social media. And I think that just like being aware that things can be hard, but like, you know, if you're happy, then like the training will come through, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. Well, I do want to thank you for your time. I know you're quite busy, even though it's snowing.
Yeah, it's actually pretty nice out right now, but this morning was kind of I couldn't use the track because they hadn't plowed it, but the roads are pretty clear.
Okay.
Like having to adapt to things like that is kind of fun too. But yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, I know Colorado's a very big place because I've seen you online a few times say, oh, by the way, I bumped into Tyler.
Well, I saw Tyler Butterfield in Utah at the race. I was
Right.
like, what are the odds? Like, classic. I know it's like Bermuda Boulder.
It's
Like
amazing.
I can't go to the grocery store without seeing someone. So
Well, again, thank you very much for your time, and good luck for the rest of the remainder of the school year. I know
yeah.
you can't wait for those final exams and knock those ones out of the park like you did the one last week. And you know, we can see that smile on the start line sometime soon, hopefully in January or February. And you continue to do us proud. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I plan to be back in Bermuda for Christmas, so hopefully.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, thank you again for having me. I'm super excited for the rest of my career, I guess.
Okay.
Okay.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Okay.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye now.